So let's talk a little bit about working with mixed numbers. My goal here is to subtract 2 1/4 minus 1 1/3, and that looks pretty easy. I can do 2 minus 1, that's 1. But when I start to do 1/4 minus 1/3, I run into trouble because 1/4 is smaller than 1/3. So what can I do here? Well, I'm going to start out by finding a common denominator for 1/4 and 1/3 because I know I'm going to need to do that eventually, and I may as well do it now. So making a short list of some of the multiples of 4 and 3, I see that 12 is on both of the lists, so I'm going to use that as my common denominator. So let's see, 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 3 is 3. So that means 1/4 equals 3/12. I multiplied both my numerator and denominator by 3, and so I know those are equivalent values. Now what about 1/3? Well, let's see. 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 4 is 4. So 1/3 is 4/12. Great. So now I've done a little bit of handiwork here. And what all that lets me do is rewrite my problem like this with 12ths. And now I can see I have 2 3/12 minus 1 4/12. Doing just a little bit of regrouping will let me subtract here in a way that makes sense. What I mean by that is that I know that 2 3/12 is really just 2 plus 3/12. I could even break it down further and write it as 1 plus 1 plus 3/12. Now you might wonder why I would do that, but hang with me for a minute. It'll make sense. 1 plus 1 is 2, right? We all agree? Okay, now I'm going to just bring down this 1 here, but this other one, I'm going to do something interesting. Instead of writing 1, I'm going to write it like this. It's like I'm giving it a costume. I'm going to write it as 12 over 12. Now, why in the world would I do this? Because I can now say that I have 1 15/12. And guess what? I can subtract 1 4/12 from 1 15/12. Let's do that. So 1 15/12 minus 1 4/12. Let's see, 15 minus 4 is 11, so that's 11/12, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So the difference between these two values is 11/12. So let's just review what our steps were. First, we found a common denominator, which is probably what you're going to do a lot of the time at first when you are adding and subtracting fractional values. Next, we regrouped by taking 2 3/12 and changing it into 1 15/12. And then last, we subtracted. Easy peasy. Okay. I know what you're thinking. Some of you are thinking, but miss, I have an easier way to do that. Okay, let me see if I can guess what it might be. Okay, let me try to read your mind for a minute. I think I know your easier way of solving this. What I'm going to show you is a strategy where we take these mixed numbers and write them as improper fractions. So 2 1/4 will be 9/4. And 1 1/3 will be 4/3. Now, we still have to find a common denominator because we can't subtract these without a common denominator. Remember, we ended up using 12 last time, and that'll work again here. This time, 9/4 is going to end up as, 9 times 3 is 27 over 12. Interesting number. And then 4/3 is going to end up as, 12 times 4 is, 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. So that's going to be 16 over 12. Okay. So then we need to subtract 27 over 12 minus 16 over 12, which is 11 over 12, the same answer we got before. So this is a method that works also. Let's review the steps we used for this method. First, we converted our mixed numbers to improper fractions. The value did not change, we just changed the form in which we wrote them. Next, we found a common denominator. And then last of all, we subtracted. So whichever method you choose to use, you are able to subtract, or you could also add mixed numbers using these strategies.